Hey, Redcasters, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos. Go Big Red.
Welcome to the Go Big Redcast, the Husker Fan Sports Show.
Welcome to the Go Big Redcast. I'm your host, Honke. Matt.
How's it going, buddy?
How you doing, buddy?
It's game week, son.
Game week.
Hope everybody's out there has already got their wings, their mini, like those mini smokies, like all their stuff ready to go. I know my wife's been decorating the house all week. We're gradually turning everything red, which has just been fantastic. I'm pumped up. I'm ready for this thing to fire off. I'm tired of speculation, although we're going to speculate.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what we kind of do here because nobody knows shit. But I can't wait for the rubber to hit the road on this season and see what Rhule's been talking about this whole off season and really let these boys get loose.
Absolutely. We're sporting some new wear for the football season. Look at the hats.
Check that one out.
Hats are due to Smack and Smooch. You can find them up on top here. We got the QR code as well.
Look at that.
Of course, we've got Alumni Hall over there as well.
Fresh
This is Huskers store here. If we die, we die. So since I am apparently Rhule's doppelganger,
I didn't even read that tonight. That's awesome.
so we got a little.
If we die, we die.
We got a little bit of it all. But a great win tonight, by the way, volleyball. Great start, 3-1, national TV against ESPN on ESPN2 against number 9 Kentucky.
Oh, wow.
And if you missed it last week, Redcasters, we've had a lot of requests to do other sports other than just football and men's basketball and baseball. And Mac, although you and I know very little about the other sports, we brought on Redcast Abby, and she did a fantastic job doing kind of a volleyball 101 plus a great preview of the season. So you can go back, listen or watch that on our YouTube channel or listen to the podcast of the Husker Huddle that she did last week. But we're talking football today.
Yeah. I mean, some of that stuff's better outsourced. I try to stay in my lane, keep it in my wheelhouse kind of thing. But that's great. Every reason to cover the volleyball team. Those girls have been holding it down forever. So yeah, I'm happy to hear that went well, and it's congratulations, ladies, on the win tonight. That's fantastic. I expect nothing less, honestly, but let's hope that kind of bleeds on over to the boys this week. I mean, I'm sure it will this week. But it's man, the off season it's this weird, like it takes forever and forever and forever, and then all of a sudden it's here, and then it's like, man, am I even ready? Do I have it all lined up? And I am. How you feeling about it?
I'm feeling great. I'm feeling ready to go, man.
Dude,
I want to talk some football. Vegas Jer there. He said, "Go Big Red."
What up, Jer?
Yeah, he was. He's coming down to the game this week, but he was texting me earlier this week. He's like, "Are you guys doing a Matt's Rule?" And I was like, "Well, I hope." I don't know. I mean, schedules have been crazy and tough and everything, but it's game week.
It's game week,
and with game week, let's talk.
Rob's coming to town this week too, right?
Oh, geez, I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah, Rob's coming to town. The Redcast for another season. We've got press passes for a couple games, and that's all Rob, going out there and requesting and everything. But he's got press passes to the game, so he's going to be doing live game stream. Well, I mean, not game streaming, but whatever pregame stuff off on the field, whatever he's allowed to do.
Right. I'm sure he'll push it.
He'll push it to the limit until he gets kicked out. Right. So no, he'll do a great job there. So that's awesome that Rob's going to be there. I think the other guys are also going to do another Redcast this week. That's going to be the prediction show, the thing you and I never did.
Right.
So.
Well, is it other teams too? They're predicting other teams wins.
I presume they
another good thing to outsource.
Yes,
for this guy anyway.
Absolutely, man. We got some great. Yeah, we got good following here so far, everyone. So thank you guys for turning out. Keep on here. Let's get into talking some football here. There's a lot that was announced just today, Mac, who the BLACKSHIRTS are. Yep. We have depth charts that came out yesterday. And so there's a lot going on here. Let's start with the single digits.
Mm-hmm.
And this came out last week here, but here the photo of the single digits here. Nash Hutmacher at 0 and Jamari Butler 1. Isaac Gifford 2. Buford Jr. is 3. Jamal Banks 4. Bullock is 5. 6 is Tommy Hill. 7 is Harzog. 8 is Singleton. Then number 9 is Robinson. Of course, how big the bookends look on this, Nash and then Robinson.
Robinson looks unnaturally huge.
Yeah.
I mean, he's legitimately looks like he's redefined his body this year. He looks just different. That guy is stacked. And I mean, Singleton is not small by any stretch, and he dwarfs him. It's honestly a fantastic picture, the way they almost have it V'd out like that. And, the lone offensive player in the middles, you can take it a lot of ways, but I will say this. The single digits really take the wind out of who's getting the black shirts. Because
well, he had to go. Well, and to be fair, too, half your offense is the line, and they aren't eligible for single digits. True. And as we get through the depth chart and we look at the offensive line, you'll see a lot of guys that are seniors, dudes that probably would have qualified to be a single digit for sure, but just aren't able to be that. Yeah. But anyways, that takes us kind of into the offense, and let's start here. Let's start with the quarterbacks. And we got to start with, obviously, number one here, and that's DLine. And he had a nice little quote here: "Just have fun, just like when I was a kid playing the game." Mac, give me your thoughts here as we start on the QB spot here, Dylan Raiola.
My first thought is he's still a kid, but that's okay. When he said he's just like a kid playing the game, but
yeah,
it felt fairly inevitable to me. But that being said, it's nice to have a 5-star come in and pretty much hold it down all. You never heard anything about, well, we're catching him up. He's doing some good things out there, but he's young. You never really heard that about him. He's a grinder. He's in there late. He's becoming a leader with the team. He's taking the offensive linemen out to eat. He's flying his wide receivers down to Texas I think it was Texas to do like a camp and stuff like that. It's just he's the right guy. He truly is. He brings everything to the table. He's mature and he's phenomenally talented. I mean, it remains to be seen on the field this year. But you saw it in the spring game, and you can see it in all his high school highlights. The guy's arm talent it's not even worth talking about. It's so good. Like his arm talent is the least of anybody's concern. He can make every pass on platform, off platform, different arm angles, all of it. And he does it seemingly with the flick of a wrist, which is fantastic. Some guys need just a little bit of time to spot up and chuck it. And DLine just doesn't have that. And one of the best things I think he can do, and this sounds stupid, but I've seen such of a lack of it over the last few years, those little sideline passes, the little play action, just rip it out there. But he throws it in a place where a guy can catch it with his momentum intact, turn his head and run forward. And that movement alone there is worth 4 yards from the jump. What the wide receivers do with it, that's what's next. But like he makes the easy things look easy, and he makes the hard things look kind of easy. And with the talent that they've managed, like Rhule's been able to build around him, sky's the limit for this dude. And he's just a freshman. I'm just head over heels for it.
Matt came over a little bit earlier tonight so that we could do a little bit of prep, and we were watching the BTN show from a week ago when they came and did the practice, and and Howard Griffin made some of the same statements there about him. And I think back to spring, and you and I are watching some of Dylan's play, and just like you said, how he could make what should be an easy pass, but he makes it so easy. That throws it right in the right spot, easy catch, and the guy can turn around and move upfield and get going. And we've had too many other times over the years with various QBs that just throw that in different spots, and you're not opening up the receiver.
Either the receiver's catching it really low or catching it way up here. And it's like that allows those linebackers to catch up to what the play action was supposed to hold them in for. So and we've got some dudes now at the wide receiver position.
Yeah, we're going to get to that. Yeah.
So it's like the better we can get those guys the ball and let them work, really the less we'll have to rely on DLine doing the magical things that we've sometimes in the past had to rely on quarterbacks to do.
Well, how about this too? And we're going to get to offensive line in a little bit, but even how about having an experienced center like Ben Scott for a young freshman, where you go back to like Martinez, 4 or 5 years ago, and as he's getting, experience under him, he's taken snaps all over the place. Just the most basic thing, right? I mean, this is Husker football 101 over the years, is that, if we could screw up something simple, we would. The snap, just the snap being all over the place, and what that does to a young QB, that's not something that Dylan's going to have to worry about.
Right. Yeah, where the first thing you have to do is take your eyes off the defense to catch the ball. I mean, it allows you to see what the defense is doing, the linebacker, safeties, and then make a read for it. It sounds super simple, but when you've seen it lacking so much that it cost you games, it's like just to be able to put that to bed and move on to the next thing. I can't tell you how excited I am about it.
Well, looking at the QB spot, it's more than just Dylan. And what I like is that I think we have some depth being built here. And so you look here at the depth chart on the screen, and Heinrich Harburg is number 2. And so there's a guy that started 7 games last year, went 5-2. He is better than he was last year. There's definite improvement that we've seen in him. And then Daniel Kaelin at QB, third spot there. There's a lot of good things I've said about him by Coach Rhule. Yeah. And but let's go to Heinrich for a second. Got another quote here. This one's from Coach Satterfield today. He goes, "Heinrich is going to be out there on the field with Dylan a lot." That one kind of threw me a little bit of a loop. I mean, I think we all could envision a way that Heinrich could be on the field with Dylan. That doesn't surprise us. Just saying a lot is
well, to me, it was a little surprising.
That's the surprising part, is the a lot part.
Yeah, you told me that when I got down here. I didn't get a chance to watch all the pressers today, but like for him to say that, the a lot part in particular, that really goes to show you what an athlete he is. Because when I was hearing other people say that, non-coaches, I always thought, well, who's he going to replace? I mean, we've got Fedoni, you've got Borkacher out there. Now you've got Carter Nelson. Even if you want to call Bonner kind of sort of that height, weight, size thing, I'm like, is Heinrich better than those guys that we need to create a package for him? I mean, that sounded silly to me, but if the coaches think so, then they're probably right, since I don't go to practice and they do. What an athlete this kid must be. I mean, I knew he was a good athlete.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it last year against Minnesota in week 1 that they got him on the field right away as in some receiving role. I can't remember if it was a tight end or a wide receiver, but regardless, athletic guy. Also, what they did with the offense last year, and I'm, me, I love a little bit of option.
I know you do.
They did what they needed to do with that team last year to do the best they could to move the ball. And what my point is, it's not that I think that we're going to go out there and be, a triple option team this year, but I also don't think that we just forgot all that. I don't think that those pages just fell out of the playbook.
Right.
The opportunity to still do some of that, maybe have a wildcat QB on the field at times. There's a lot of opportunities. I just like the fact that there's options there.
Yeah.
And then when we talk about, I'll throw out the last quote here, and this is high praise here. I don't know too many people who want to go head to head with Heinrich Harburg, and that's from Jamal Banks. Yeah. He's well respected. At the very least, he's well respected. And then you throw Daniel Kaelin on top of that, and I think that there was some respect being thrown his way by Coach Rhule and the staff. And at the very end of this, we're going to talk about some college football rule changes. But Boomer sent a text today, and he was talking about with the 4-game redshirt rule that you could play 4 regular season games and a conference championship and 4 playoff games and still redshirt, because all that postseason you can play 9 games. So the most red Kool-Aid, red cast Rob guy out there, Kaelin can still play 9 games for us this year. We can make it to the national championship game.
Fantastic.
And he can still redshirt. So
I applaud it.
I'll allow
I'm
it. Right.
Here for it.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, before we move on, let's get a couple more comments in here. We have Vegas Jer, dude, throwing $9.99. Thank you so much. With that, is that the soup? That's the super donate, right? Isn't that?
They call that a super chat.
Super chat. All right.
Super donate.
Super donate to the Redcast. Jason Cooper, can you help an Army vet get tunnel tickets during the Illinois game? Anyone out there, Redcasters? That's Jason Cooper on Facebook. You can PM him. Go Big Red. Taylor Dahl. Ooh, our SCOTUS guy.
Oh, yeah.
He wants to do a podcast with us at some point there back in Columbus, Max.
Right on.
Sometime we'll have to come back there. Hot take. Banks will finish being a top 10 wide receiver and go in the second round. We'll allow that. Dude. And corners to corner. Sup, guys? I cannot beat the negative 28 point spread and when I play at Nebraska versus UTEP in college football 25. Sometimes it's a close game. Maybe I just suck, but it makes me nervous. Mac, you've been playing.
Nobody can play defense in that game.
You've been playing that quite a bit.
I don't know if you saw Tony's comment up earlier. He and I and my other nephew Ryan are in a dynasty right now, and Tony had to bow out last night after TCU got beat by Michigan State. I'm sorry to say it. I didn't mean to put you on blast there, Tony. I will play my game. I'm sorry, I've been busy. Okay, but nobody can play defense on that game.
Oh, wait. All right. Well, let's move on to a spot that you love, Mac. This is your position, and it's also the one I think we can just call it the position of oar.
Yeah,
because
as they're a whole rowing team, just a bunch of oars.
As we bring it up here on the screen, I mean, pick your guy here, but we have Ramir Johnson, Emmett Johnson, Gabe Irvin Jr., Dante Dowdle, all listed as oars at the starting running back spot. So, Mac, I guess
they get an inch taller every step down the depth chart, and
that's right, they do. Ramir 5'10", Emmett 5'11". Oh, they jumped 2 inches from Emmett to Irvin, and then Dowdle 6'2", 225. That's a big dude.
That's a big dude. Yeah, I like the footage I've seen. That like the Big Ten media shot. That he looks like he's a monster, just come like Pitts used to say, just coming to hell and around the corner.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's interesting after all these years that Ramir is still on top of the depth chart. Several injuries, but he's been a trooper this whole time. I like his size, 5'10", 200. He's super versatile, and I'm glad that Emmett is backing him up. I really do feel like of all the positions, the oars are. It's just the nature of the position anymore.
I mean,
this is kind of an oar position.
Throw it out. Well, oh gosh, maybe it was Satterfield today. Somebody was saying, we don't want to play 4 running backs all season. We want to get to in a perfect world, we want to sell in on the 1-2 hot guys. Well, and I think everyone wants that. Everyone wants the All-American guy.
Sure.
If one of those guys steps out of the pack and is the clear starter, I think everyone would be happy with that.
Sure.
You and I were talking about this a little bit earlier, and this kind of applies to as we're going through these offensive position groups. We were trying to come up with an offense that maybe what could this offense look like? Like compare it to another,
like when it's really
churning and firing. Yeah. And what would be a good example? And one of them, I'd love to, anyone watching right now, I'd love to get your thoughts on this, but we kind of thought maybe like 2019 Clemson.
Right.
You've got a star young QB, old offensive line, senior guys, big dudes, and tall wide receivers, tight ends on the field, and then but from a run pass balance and everything. I mean, they threw the ball, but they also ran the ball. Yep. I think ATN had like 1,600 yards, and the second string guy had like 600 yards. Like there was a physical presence with it to go along.
Even the quarterback, you said,
yeah,
about 600 yards.
Yeah, the quarter, yeah, I think he had like 500 rushing yards. Trevor
Lawrence. Yeah.
Lawrence, yeah. But I'm not imagining that we're going to have the quarterback run that much, especially if it's Dylan. But anyways, I mean, just trying to come up with some kind of comp.
Yeah. And
that was something that we thought of there. And the running back that goes back to what we're looking at right now is, could one guy step out? Could one guy be that ATN, so to speak, of our team? I'm not calling him the next Travis Etienne, but the ATN of this team that can get above the rest. That would be interesting to see. If I had to make a guess, the guy that I just, number one, I hope Irvin and Johnson just stay healthy. Ramir.
Yes.
I mean, first and foremost, those two guys just have been beaten up.
Particularly those
years. It's just been awful to see the injuries that they've had. But Emmett, there's something about him, man. I just think Emmett can bring a bit of everything. He can run through tackles. He can make you miss. Yeah. He's got the speed. He's got good vision. I don't know. I just was so impressed with him last year development-wise.
I feel like last year's sample was a pretty good example of what he could be. And you have to remember last year when he was running the ball, nobody was worried about us passing the ball. And he was still kind of productive. He's really sudden. He seems to have good balance. People are I don't know about his breakaway speed, but I don't know that I can't rule it out just yet. He seems really quick and twitchy. He seems to be the most kind of well-rounded about, height, weight, size, skills.
5'11", 200.
Ramir's always been a burner, but he's not terribly big, although 5'10", 200 isn't that small anymore. So I don't know. The running back position is interesting. You can definitely tell they've got some tools out there, but it's nice. We got a couple little quick guys, and we got some big dudes. I mean, Gabe, man, if he's 6'1", 220, when you look at that dude, his shoulders, his neck, the dude looks like he's 235, 240, like linebacker size.
Yeah.
So I don't know. If he's healthy and ready to go, I'd be curious to see how he does too.
Yeah.
I love his attitude. I've always loved his attitude. You know, even after getting hurt, he's always been positive and ready to go. And Dowdell, you know, he's coming over from Oregon. He's probably got a little chip on his shoulder, ready to prove something. And we got him at 4th.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's crazy. You when he got recruited here, they were like, "Oh, we finally got kind of like a workhorse guy that could be pressing for time." And you know, he's still 4th. I'm like, that's
or in the oars, depending on how we define that. But he's the 4th one listed.
Yeah,
6'2", 225. Anthony here says I can see the leader in carries, yards, and TDs all being different backs. That's interesting.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe even throw a 4th stat in there. Maybe receptions even.
Mm-hmm.
You know, could you have a different back potentially being? You know, I don't know if you're going to find 4 different backs for all 4 of those, but I guess. But my point is, like, it wouldn't be hard to see maybe a Dowdle getting a bunch of TDs if he's getting into goal line stuff.
Yep.
It's not impossible to see, you know, Emmett Johnson getting the most rushing yards. It's not impossible to see Ramir getting a lot of catches.
Oh, for sure.
And, you know, who knows, maybe, you know, Irvin gets the most yards.
Maybe Gabe's gets the most 20s, 20,
most carries. Yeah, exactly. And so, you know, anything, Josh here, you know, stacked at running back. I mean, look, it's a lot of, it's 4 players deep.
Mm-hmm.
Not even talking about Quentin Ives there.
Yeah.
And
who Rhule has been high on. I mean, Quentin Ives, you know, I guess it'd be ridiculous to have 4, or I guess a 4th or, but I mean, I expect him to play. I'm for sure we'll see Quentin Ives this year. It's interesting to me that he said he would like to have 2 lead guys. Maybe it's just because I've never seen a running back make it a full season in the last however many years. That number will whittle down unless we're having some kind of phenomenal injury-free season. There's no way. I don't mean to jinx it. I just don't see all those running backs making it all the way through the year.
Well, I mean, that's been kind of
not season ending either, but just like dinged up for the week, or, you know, like a high ankle sprain or something that just happens. I'm hoping no dislocated hips or
to your point, we lost Irvin Johnson, I think, and Ramir in the same game last year.
Yeah, that would
against Northern Illinois or
right,
whatever. So,
exactly.
Yeah, can't have any of that. Well, let's move on to wide receivers and tight ends, and we got a lot of them. And not only do we have a lot of them, but Mac, we were talking about the size of these guys. Yeah. So basically, here, let me highlight these for you. We're looking everywhere here from, you know, let's start with tight end.
Sure.
Thomas Fidone, Nate Borkacher, Luke Lindenmeyer. I'm not even including Max. Who was the guy today? Max Markway that just came here from LSU.
Yeah.
And he's on the team now. He's practicing right now. Now, I don't know what his eligibility is.
So did he go through fall camp at LSU or part of fall camp?
You know what? You ask good questions. I'm sure somebody watching probably paid attention.
Chad,
better than I did.
Did he make it through?
Did he practice at all with LSU? But no, I'm doubting he did. But he was a 4-star recruit a year or 2 years ago.
Okay.
So he would have been a freshman last year at LSU. Had a few catches. 4-star kid. He was from St. Louis, which maybe that's as important as anything. Is the more the connections that we can try to make down there in Missouri and St. Louis, you know, we've talked about. But you can add him at least to this list of tight ends. I don't know if he's anywhere even remotely close to playing. I mean, let's realize he was just as, you know.
How about Fidone being 6'6",
but Fidone, let's go this 6'6", 255. And you made the point, Mac. He doesn't look 255.
No, that's the leanest 255 I've ever seen, and he looks quick, agile, explosive. I expect a big year from Fidone. Last year when we talked about Fidone, all we really talked about was him just making it through the year healthy, which he did. And this is the year I feel comfortable talking about him having a big year. I expect Fidone to have a big year. And that's what when we talk about what the offense is going to look like, that's where I don't know. I'm like, I think we got these tight ends that could be weapons. I mean, I think we've got these wide receivers that are definitely weapons. Our running back room is stacked. We've got a quarterback that can throw it all over the yard. It's like, how are we going to channel all that? And how is a team going to stop all of that? Like, are they going to shut it all down? That's a big ask.
Well, you know, we were talking about the what the matchup issues that we could get into, but just conceivably, you could throw Thomas Fedoni out there on the field. Bonner is starting a slaughter. He's 6'2", 220. And although he's not necessarily
a gigantic slot,
that's just a big guy.
Yeah.
We saw him last year playing fullback for cripe's sakes. But or there's Carter Nelson there at 6'5", or obviously Jamal Banks is going to be on the field at 6'4". Do you throw out 6'5" Malachi Coleman? Or do you throw out 6'4" Isaiah Nair?
Good job.
Thanks. 6'2" Alex Bullock looks small now.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
You could go real big on a team, or if you want to throw Jalen Lloyd, 5'10", 180, but a speedster, burner out
elite,
there.
Deep threat,
IGC out there, 6'1", 200. Ja'Cory Barney at 6 feet, 170. These guys got some speed on them. You could spread. You can get fast. You can get big. I mean, there's no reason that we couldn't have 13 personnel out there at times. Have Fedoni, Borkacher, and Lindemeyer.
You've got Malachi at third team and 6'5", 210, and Malachi can fly.
Yeah,
it's like
he's just
man.
They even talked about the injuries that he had, just kind of held him back a little bit, which is why they have him down on the.
It's fine,
but he'll get through it. One position I guess I didn't even mention with the running backs, we do have fullback Barrett Liebentritt too, 6 feet 235, junior. He was the Notre Dame transfer from a year ago. So the point is, there's a lot of different things. This even goes back to the Clemson connection that I was talking about earlier. Is that that Clemson 2019 one, they could do a lot of things. They could get into big sets, and they could get under center, and they could go shotgun. They could do it all and be a run team, be a pass team, and that's where I'm just trying to come up with comparisons, like what type of team is going to run the type of stuff that we do. I think we're going to be really physical. We're going to talk about this when we get to the O-line a little bit, but I think we can get really physical with teams. But we have an elite quarterback that can do elite things. Yeah. And he's a freshman. And I would be the first one to say, hey, man, take it easy on the guy. Let him work his way in. But the guy that looks like me, but actually is coaching, he doesn't think that. And he's been very vocal to say, no, we're going to throw Dylan out there and let him do what he needs to do. And we have a schedule that allows an opportunity. I'm not saying Nebraska should look past anyone. I'm not jumping to any of that. Nobody start, giving us a bunch of garbage for, saying just pay attention to UTEP. We are just paying attention to UTEP, but we have a schedule that's favorable for playing a true freshman if there's ever been one. So
I can't stand when people tell me not to look past it. I will look past whoever the hell I want to. That is the coach's job to maintain focus on who's in front of them. But this is the time of year where I've come full circle to like, I'm not going to buy in. I'm totally bought in. I totally believe we can. Here's the thing. Like when people start doing predictions and you get to 4-0 on your predictions at 4-0, at this point, I don't think we lose any more games. Like that's kind of how it goes for me. So like with Dylan, and I know we've said this a bunch of times, but we're not asking the world from him. It's not like Adrian. When he was here, it was like Adrian was the show. He was the running game. He was the passing game. The offense lived and died with him because he kind of had to do it all himself. Like Dylan's main function should be to get the ball to these other guys, including the running backs. And look at the size of these guys. And some of these, like Jalen Lloyd, super, super, super fast, deep threat guy. He's not you got Ja'Cory Barney out there who you saw in the spring game rip it up.
Yeah.
Isaiah Nair is a specimen. And Jamal Banks is the lone single digit on the offense. Like, come on, a wide receiver.
I like this question here, Josh. What about Jalen versus Hunter? So Travis Hunter at Colorado, they're all everything, cornerback going up against Lloyd. I'll just tell you what, Lloyd, I can recall when Nebraska got him late in that recruiting class, wasn't highly heralded at all. Just came here basically as a track guy. I can remember a lot of people at the time talking about him just being a Rules taking kind of a stab in the dark at the guy, and he's a developmental guy. Well, Rhule wants fast dudes. They judge their miles per hour, how fast they are and everything. And I forget that Lloyd only I think he caught 6 catches last year, but 3 of them were for touchdowns, and they were all deep.
Yeah,
but those are real good experience for those guys. Same with Malachi. We've got a nice blend of experienced receivers coming in here with Banks, with Nair, and then having those guys that are coming back. That's a good group.
To that question, I honestly think that would, for Travis Hunter, Jalen might be the best matchup for him just because the other guys are so damn big.
Yeah.
Like what's Travis is pretty light.
And when we watch that, we've talked about this Colorado game last year annoys us because the score is what the score is. It does not look good.
Word.
But we beat them up.
Yeah.
You watched tight ends just destroying
Fedoni
Hunter.
lunch,
we had 8 sacks on those guys. We were physical the way that we wanted Nebraska to be physical. We just kept handing them the ball over and over again. And so that's at the end of the day, that stuff has to end. But from a physical standpoint, I think you're right. A matchup against a Hunter, I'll take a Banks going up against him, or maybe a Nair who has the speed, but also has a 6'4" body that comes with it. 6'4", 220. God, 220.
220. Both of our starting wideouts are 6'4", 220. That's nuts.
I'm with Dion here. I'm starting as a drinking fan this year, so I'm all over that, man. And we'll see here. Yeah. Also, but until we burn him with Nelson or any of our other tight ends, it'll be interesting. Like Carter Nelson, they've got him listed right now, 3rd string behind Bonner and IGC at slot, 6'5", 230. I'm fine with that right now too. I don't know how, ready. He wasn't here the whole offseason. I like where he's actually making a name for himself right now, and that was with Foley in special teams. Coach Foley brought Nelson up multiple times. There's nothing I'd like more than to see him that first half of the season. If that's really where he gets his name recognition, he plays the most, is out there. And then knock on wood and all that, if there is an injury or anything like that, that by game 7, game 8, if he's stepping in then, but he's got game experience, D1 game experience, because they're developing him through special teams. Boy, that sounds like what a lot of really great coaches we talk about do.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at a slot receiver, when you talk about size and aggressiveness, the starter's 6'2", 220. The 3rd string guy, 6'5", 230, and a freshman. Yeah. IGC, who I'm happy is back, kind of the runt, and he's 6'1", 200. I mean, it's like those aren't traditional slot receiver sizes. Honestly, you'd think more like Ja'Cory Barney or maybe a Lloyd in that position, but that just kind of tells you when you think about like what this offense is going to look like. It looks like we're geared to be physical, and that thrills me to no end. I cannot wait for the Colorado game. I swear to God, I'm just going to go ahead and look past UTEP right now.
I'm also looking at where these kids are from, and for in-state to have 4 wide receivers total on the.
That's kind of
Carter Nelson from Ainsworth, Lloyd and Coleman from Omaha and Lincoln, Alex Bullocks from Omaha. At tight end, we've got Borgature and Lindemeyer, 2 Nebraska kids. At quarterback,
I was just going to say 2 of them. Yeah,
Harburg and Kalen. I mean, that's an interesting group of in-state kids. Obviously, in addition to we're a national recruiting team, but that's we've got some talent in the state that goes beyond just being linemen. So
in a year's time, he has done a hell of a lot to reshape this roster, and I like it.
Absolutely. Well, let's go ahead and let's take a look at that offensive line here, Mac. And I think that the biggest thing that jumps out when you look at this, it is that we are old and we are young.
Yeah.
This is where this team, I think this is what happens in a coaching transition. If you do the right things as a coach, you can keep some of the older guys around. They don't want to just take off and leave right away. And you can be old, but he's also brought in like 75 or 80 freshmen and redshirt freshmen. So he's completely flipped the roster while none of the old guys are leaving. And this is specifically where we benefit. So we didn't have anybody get drafted last year, and that sucks for that year. But I'm fairly certain that Ben Scott could have got a call 3rd day.
Oh, yeah.
I'm fairly certain that Bryce Benhart could have got a call 3rd day.
Oh, yeah.
And they didn't leave. They came back. And so now what you've got, and we talked about Ben Scott. Let's start at the center spot. We talked about the benefit of him, what he can do for Dylan, being a calming sense. The snaps are going to be in the right spot every time. And what Scott can do, they're 6'5", 310 pounds, senior for Honolulu. I mean, that's a good start. And that dude, he is just he's a plug, dude. That dude wants to hit. In fact, where's his here's his quote: "The run game is always growing. We got to see the tips and tells and make sure we're all blocking the right people, and that starts with me making the right calls." Let's start in the middle there. Well, I mean, what are your thoughts on Scott?
Thrilled that he came back. Thrilled that he transferred here to begin with. He kind of took over that position, and then you don't really have to worry about it anymore. And sometimes the center is a bit of an underrated position until it's not good. Yeah. And then you really notice, like, especially when, listen, Cam Jurgens is a pro.
Yeah, he's starting now.
He's a fantastic pro, but when he started at center, he was a liability as much as he was great.
Yep.
And like for that to be a non-factor is fantastic. Like it sounds simple, but just get the quarterback the ball and then go to work. And what, like you said before, though, he's a senior, 6'5", 310. The guy backing him up, Sam Sledge, a legacy from Omaha, 6'4", 295. I'm like, probably going to get some playtime this year. And it's just the makeup of the team, the way they're stacked with eligibility and experience is really, really exciting for me. But yeah, you're right. Ben Scott being here,
6'5",
he's like a Linus's blanket, just a
6'5", 310 senior, backed up by Sam Sledge, 6'4", 295 redshirt freshman.
Right.
There's your development.
Yep.
Let's go to the left side. Justin Evans, starting 6'1", 315. He started last season, multiple games. He also has played some center. So there's a little bit of depth created in terms of if you ever had to move some people around for any reason,
right.
You can do that there. And he's only a sophomore. He's the only non-senior listed as a starter right now. Behind Evans is Henry Lutovsky. He's also basically played as a starter. He's played a lot of snaps already. 6'6", 320. Big dude. Okay, Jason.
Big mean dude.
Jason, I'm always going to blow the last name. I'm going to get from South Dakota.
I think it's Machacek.
Yeah, 6'2", 305 redshirt freshman. Got him through the program a year. Maybe you can get some snaps in this season. Let's look at right guard. Micah Mazcow. That's right, isn't it? Is it Mazuka or is it? No, it's Mazcow. Not really.
Mazcow. It's Mazuka.
All right, fine. I don't know, dude. I was Hut Nashmacher.
I know
for like 3 years,
and I can't wait till we get to the right guard. Right tackle.
Don't even get me on that to
say it.
Oh, when we had personnel, I couldn't say his name for like 4 years.
Mazcow.
Mazuka. 6'5", 325, senior. He's the one that he's been at Baylor, started, and so let's hear it. Mazcow started 10 games at Baylor. I'm just going to call him
Mazuka.
10 plus games he started in 22 for Baylor. Then he started 11 games at Florida last year. What I really like about that is, think about before we lost for Huska. At least you could make the argument there wasn't a need to have to bring in another starting guy. I mean, Corcoran's been playing guard. You didn't have to do that, but they went out and they got one more guy, one more senior at that spot. And now with the injury, they to Prohaska, which nobody wanted to see, but this coaching staff, that's a pro move on their part that they built that kind of depth. They roster management. They're like, we're not just going to leave it up to if one guy or two guys here or there. No, I mean, Mazcow comes in here and now you've got, did I say it right? No, did I?
Not once.
Mazuka. God,
why do you say Mazcow?
Because it looks
Where's
like
the
that.
COW? I don't see a cow in there.
No. Anyways, his backup is Tyler Knack, and I know that's how you say it.
Good job.
Okay. 6'6", 235 or 325 sophomore. He's the transfer from Utah a year ago. So there's your interior guard, center guard. I mean, we've seen a lot of video that's come out of practice, and these guys are
and Micah seems mean. And I love that from an offensive line. Offensive and defensive linemen, I prefer them to have just a little bit of an edge, a little unapproachable.
Mazuka.
Thank you, Justin.
Mazuka.
Everybody like Bazooka. Exactly, Dion.
Like bazooka. All right.
You mean it's not Bazooka? I'm going to shoot him with my bazooka.
Oh, my gosh.
Hey, who's a Bryce Benhart's backup?
Shoot. Gunnar Gatula.
Hey!
I got it right. Okay, last week
he was calling him Gotchula. And I'm like, real quick, when you say Gotchula, are you trying to say Gatula? So I know what you're talking about, because it took me a while. I'm like, he was giving. Honke's always been good about the depth charts, knowing where a guy's from, like all the strengths, height, weight, all like he's got it all down. But names sometimes are just my favorite thing. You're like the Steve Sipple of the Redcast in pronouncing names.
Right tackle, Bryce Benhart, back for like his 7th year, 6'9", 315 senior, and then he's backed up by Gunnar Gotchula and Gatula.
Thank you.
Oh, did I? God dang it! Now you got me screwed up. 6'6", 305, but redshirt freshman.
Yep.
So again, old and new guys that have been in the program for about a year, backing them up. And then on the left tackle side, Turner Corcoran, 6'6", 310. He's been here forever. And now Grant Segrin. And this is a walk-on, a redshirt freshman, a guy that's put on like 40 pounds in the year that he's been here.
Big.
6'6", 305. And so there's been there's a lot of things, moving parts going on in that offensive line. They brought in different guys that are walk-ons, that are young guys. They've kept guys around that have been here for a while. And but I think from a starting line standpoint, I mean, this is a line that they could do some serious damage.
I mean, even with Prohaska going down, like you'd said, and that's a little concerning because depth is you're always a little concerned with your depth on the offensive line.
Yeah.
But he's not even on this list, and I'm looking at that line and going, I kind of like it. I kind of like all of it. Yeah. And I can see ways to rearrange it if we lost a couple more guys. Like, if Ben Scott had to maybe move out to play guard, and then you move Evans in to play center, or, if Turner Corcoran went down. But it's just like a lot of mix and matching. Gotchula could probably but it's just it's like we talked about before. They've done a good job of building in some depth and some fail safes to weather the storm. Because look, man, Rhule said it, and it's true. The college football season, if you're a good team, is going to be long. Yeah. You are going to have games on games, and you're going to need some depth because your guys are going to go down. It's a physical game. We're in the Big Ten.
Yep.
There's no. It's all big boy football now. So the depth is always going to be the utmost priority. And slowly, I mean, look at that. All the backups are young guys, and that's just should improve as we go along. You supplement a little bit with the portal. You keep developing the guys you have. We're in a good spot, good space right now with that, I think.
I agree. Well, let's move on to the black shirts here, the defense. And with that, the black shirts are Nash Hutmacher, Jamari Butler, Gifford, Buford Jr., Banks, Bullock, Tommy Hill, Hartzog, DJ Singleton, Ty Robinson. I'll hold on the next guy, Micah Bear, and then MJ Sherman. But it's Cameron Leonard. He's the one.
Mackay Bear, isn't it? Is it Micah? I think it's Mackay Bear.
You were
so close. Usually it's last name.
Don't give me.
I love your heart.
Mackay.
It's game week. You're
trying.
doing okay. Hey,
I'm doing the best.
It's still.
Reading is hard. Left to right, top to bottom. Yeah.
I hope I'm not hurting your feelings.
No, I appreciate it. But Cameron Leonard, that was a interesting one because that was Coach White said that he was the OOU, the one of us, and what this program is all about. So he's the one non-starter that's listed at it. But, I mean, he's going to play a lot, and he did last year. He's 6'3", 260 coming in at DM. We've got some guys that have some size here. But also when we're talking about black shirts here, this is a quote from MJ Sherman. Just because you have a black shirt doesn't mean you're starting forever. Things can change every single day, and you have to earn it to keep it every single day.
Every single day.
Well, let's start with where Cameron Leonard plays and the other guys there on death row, a.k.a. the defensive line. And, dude, this is looking very similar to the offensive line. Yeah. We had some guys last year that could have left. Ty Robinson could have been an NFL draft pick. Nash Hutmacher could have been. Hutmaker could have been a NFL draft pick.
I didn't mean to get in your head. You're doing great.
Thank you. You're totally in my head now.
Sorry.
But there's some size that's come out of this now. We were worried a year ago coming in the season, how would a 3-3-5 hold up in the Big Ten against the run? Everything. Well, it held up great.
Yeah.
Right. And just looking here, when you get Robinson and Nash on the field at the exact same time, you've got a 6'6", 310 guy. You have a 6'4", 310 guy. Seniors, both of those seniors.
Yeah.
Jamari Butler, 6'5", up to 260 now, out of that DN spot. So there's some size that's coming out of those starters, and he's a junior. Jamari is. So you got some old dudes there that played a lot of football, but coming up behind them, behind Ty Robinson, Riley Van Poppel, and Kai Wallen. 6'5", 290 is Van Poppel, sophomore. Wallen, 6'5", 250, sophomore.
Yeah.
Behind Hutmaker, you have Elijah Judy, 6'3", 285. Behind him is Vincent Jackson, 6'5", 290. That's a junior and a redshirt freshman. So guys that have been in the program a year at least. And then behind Jamari Butler, Cameron Leonard, 6'3", 260, true sophomore. And then James William, the transfer last year that played 4 games and redshirted. he's up to 6'6", 250.
250. And like I believe in a press conference, he was saying somewhere last year he was maybe in the 230s, maybe high 220s at some points of last year. Just physically not ready to go.
Yeah.
Like not just hadn't built up the mass, you know. Mass kicks ass.
Kicks ass.
And he didn't quite have it yet, but
low man wins and mass kicks ass.
But this sounds like, you know, he's adopted, you know, really bought into the culture. He's kind of learned how to maintain his body, maintain his weight. And he's, you know, this guy's a steal. He could be a potential steal from one of those. What are those camp like
yeah, it's the camp where they bring in guys that are like at JUCOs.
Yeah,
at
same place they got that quarterback from this year.
Yeah, the
Jalen
Granville.
Sure.
Shoot.
I like it.
Well,
Grahamstead
and long ball a year ago.
Yeah.
So it's like I can't remember what they call the exact camp, but yeah, it's basically guys that are already you know a couple years out of high school and various levels of football. But anyways,
you know, looking at this, so Ty's 9, Nash is 0, Jamari's 1. You know, anybody out there can think of like, what can we do with those numbers? The 901 or the 109 or like what we have a numeric name for our D line. You know what I'm saying?
That'd be interesting. Yeah.
Oh man. Someone creative out there, probably Swoboda, could think of something cool about that.
Yeah.
It's just interesting. We got a 9, a 0, and a 1 on the defensive line.
Yeah. That's very rare. This is an interesting point that Ben Scott made. He goes, going against our D line is something else. Iron sharpens iron. This takes me back to our time era of being at Nebraska back in the mid 90s and being Husker fans then.
When we were young.
You know, it was the pipeline guys, by the way, by Pipeline Jerky right there. You know, we got the logo on the mic. But, you know, you had the pipeline guys and then they're going up against, you know, the Peter brothers and Wistrom and Tomich. And it was just the idea that the best games they would have, all the best guys they were going against all season were in practice against each other.
Yeah.
And these lines, I mean, look, we're going to play a lot of good linemen in the Big Ten. I'm not trying to say we're not going to be doing that, but these guys are legit.
Big.
You know, when Ben Scott, who we think is going to be pretty good at center, is going up against Nash Hutmaker at nose tackle, one-on-one in practice, or they got Mazuka. Did I say it
Nailed
right?
it.
God, I still want to say mascot. But if you got Mazuka and Scott going, you know, 2-on-1, and we've seen some of those combo blocks, they've shown video of that. Bazooka is going to help. That actually is going to help.
That's a good one, Dion.
But you know, having Nash going against that, or having, you know, Ty Robinson going up against, you know, Ben Hart. I mean, that is just that's how these guys can improve. You know, we can see some of this, I think, in the DBs and the wide receiver room too, as well.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But there's some real opportunity, and I think that Ben Scott, you know, highlighting that's
also too, just the how multiple our defense is, like with the fronts and the different looks they can show. How much that's probably helped Dylan too, just seeing different fronts, different reads, listening to line make calls, change of protections based on what he's seeing. It's a really good defense to practice against and learn from, and not just at the quarterback, wide receiver, but for sure the O-line, the way those guys can move and rotate. And I think Ty Robinson's about to pop off for a big damn year. I mean, he definitely could have went pro last year, but I think he's going to make himself a hell of a lot more money by coming back this year. And I'm not talking about NIL. I'm talking about NFL.
Yeah. Real money there. All right, let's go to linebacker and the jack. And, you know, right away here, John Bullock, Senior, comes back. Okay. He could have left last year.
Yep.
He got the most snaps, I think, of any of the inside linebackers a year ago. Obviously, Reimer and Henrich had played a lot, but then they had injury issues as well. Bullock had a big year for us. So glad that he came back there. He's number 5 on the single digits. Behind him, Vincent Shavers Jr., true freshman, Miami, 6'1", 225.
Actually going to get something out of a Miami kid, you know, like that's pretty cool.
We can get something out of quite a few Miami kids here. I think, you know, we talked about Barney earlier at receiver and there's
true. Yeah, that is true.
Yeah. But Shavers 6'1", 225 freshman. The other linebacker, Mekhi Bear, 6'2", 230. Now, this is, of course, the other position where we lost Javen Wright, at least for the time being. We don't know how long he's going to be out. Yeah. But again, let's go back to this coaching staff. There's no excuses. They went out there during the offseason. They brought in Stephen Thompson to that inside linebacker room. You could look at that and go, well, you had Bullock back. You had Bear. You had, You had Wright, and those guys were all playing a lot last year. You have Vincent Shavers coming in. There wasn't necessarily you didn't have to go out and get Stephen Thompson, the transfer from Syracuse, who's played multiple years under Tony White in the system, but they did. And just, look at that. So we with right now without Wright, that could really hurt you. And yet look at this 2 deep at the inside linebacker spot. You got to feel pretty good about that. Bears 6'2", 230, a junior. Stephen Thompson 6'1", 240, a junior.
Wright's a senior, isn't he?
Right. Yes, I think so.
He's not on here, but
he's not listed there.
I feel like he's almost got to be.
Yeah, he's been here for.
Man, I really do hope he can. I know it's not an injury; it's like a medical issue. Yes. I really hope it's something they can address quickly, because that dude, he's kind of following the path of a lot of those guys that just keep getting nicked up, and kind of like Ramir Johnson. Honestly, like we just can't keep him healthy long enough to let him shine. I really hope he gets out there. I mean, he's a legacy player. He's 6'5", maybe 6'6". His wingspan's huge.
Yes.
I mean, that's the one thing that kind of separates him from the other guys, those 6'2", 6'1". That dude's got some range. He can cover. He started off in the secondary.
Yep.
So I hope he gets whatever it is sorted out quickly so we can get him on the field. But the show must go on, and we've got players behind him that are ready to step up. So that was just a personal side note.
No. As we look at the jack here, so the jack position, kind of an outside linebacker, sometimes can kind of move up in a DN role, stand up, maybe he puts his hand down every once in a while, and that's MJ Sherman. So again, this is old and new.
Yep.
You got MJ Sherman back. He's the transfer a year ago from Georgia, 6'3", 245. That dude's big.
Yeah,
he's a big dude.
Size.
Senior, and he's backed up by Princewell
Umamanyelen.
There you go. I'm going to let you just say it. 6'5", 245. He's got some size,
bro.
Thanks, man. I may just say the first names and you say the second names. Guys. How about that? But yeah, 6'5", 245, sophomore. He's a true sophomore.
Yep.
And he's put on some good weight there, because when he came out, he was a 4-star, big-time guy, but he was probably 215, 220 coming here. So to be at 245 now. So just think
245. I mean, you really wouldn't even make him any bigger.
I've asked this question multiple times on this show here since we started the season. Is there a position group where we're not better right now than where we were a year ago at this time? The closest that I asked that, and the closest, I think Jim in Minnesota was watching us, and he commented inside linebacker, and I don't necessarily disagree with him in terms of that would be the closest one I could think of. But I'm even looking at this, I'm like, I don't know, man. Everything's better. That jack position, we've got Sherman and Princewell a year into the system. And then even at linebacker, a year ago, we didn't know anything about Micah Bear. We didn't know anything. No. He hadn't played. And now all of a sudden he's gone out and he's played a lot of good football. John Bullock had never played linebacker a year ago at this point. And he had as many snaps as anybody last year. And it's so.
What about corner? I mean, maybe corner. I mean, Tommy's back. I don't
and Tommy's so well thought of right now. There was a mock NFL draft that had him going first round.
That's crazy.
So
I mean, the only thing, Buford's played a ton. He hasn't played quarter a ton, but he's played. But shoot, look at that, Matt. That's just what we were talking about. Who's backing Buford up? Sierra Wright, the kid from USC that was in Space Jam 2. And I heard Tony White talking about him today, saying he's kind of an elite athlete.
Let's go there. Let's go to defensive backs then. And I guess while we're here's some comments. So we got Huskers pick 6 previews, Big Ten unit rankings, DLine 5th, linebacker 7th, DB 6th. Yeah, and it's crazy because the DLine there that Brett Ciancia pick 6 previews, he had Nebraska in the top, I think 15, or maybe it was the top 20. I can't remember which one it was. But point is, we were in the top 20 at the DLine, yet 5th in the Big Ten.
It's a good conference
rankings.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a good conference. I mean,
defensively, it's a good conference there. But I think, considering there's 18 teams now, and that's definitely showing that we're in the top half at least defensively. And I think every one of us, we can see it creep higher too. That 20-40 mark of getting 20 sacks and 40 or 20 turnovers and 40 sacks.
Okay.
That's what White wants to do. That would be the improvement from a year ago. This defense played well last year. They didn't get enough turnovers.
Correct.
And we had 8 sacks against Colorado. Where were the turnovers that came with it? So, that's what we need to do.
What else you got on there?
Let's see here, Javen. With the lack of depth at offensive tackle, and there's a high 4-star 6'7" offensive tackle transfer from Georgia on the team, where's Jacob Hood? It's a good question. He's nowhere listed on the depth chart there. A year ago, he was a long ways away from playing. He doesn't look any closer right now. I don't know what to say. Jason Rogge, good question. Not sure. Must be developing him. Yeah. E. Ortwin Stein. Oh, Coach Stein. If there's one stat line at any position or group that you believe will be the key to a successful season, what line is it, and what will that number be? Maybe think about that one, Mac. We'll get back to it. Think of a stat line at any position group that you believe that will be key to the season. Think about that. Let's get back to defensive backs here. And as we look at this, so it's a 3-3-5. So there's 5 guys that are going to be listed here. Well, all 5 of them are single digits. We got number 6, Tommy Hill. We got number 2, Isaac Gifford. Number 7, Malcolm Hartzog. Number 8, Deshaun Singleton. Oh, I called him DJ earlier. Deshaun Singleton. And
his middle name's James.
Number 3.
I'm just making that up. I don't know.
Probably is.
I didn't correct you.
No.
So I mean, I'm just as guilty. There you go.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's accountability.
Thank you.
That's what I like about you. Number 3, Marquise Buford Jr. Hill is the lockdown corner, or at least that's what we are hoping he's going to be coming into the season. He's the potential first round corner.
Yep.
At 6 feet 205. Now, when he was recruited
he's
here,
only 6 foot. I mean, I feel like he's taller than that, but maybe not. He's long. His arms are super long, but anyway, continue.
We had Mike Babcock on the show one time, and he was going through all these players from like the 60s, and he forgot one name. And he's like, I feel bad. I forgot the name. And I remember you saying like, well, you got a lot of things up there in your head, and like, it's hard to keep track on all that stuff. And I'm like, I feel the same way anymore with like all these names. I'm trying to think of the defensive backs coach who brought Hill in that was under Frost for like 5 years. Fisher.
Yeah, Tony.
So Fisher. I don't think it's that. Man, names are just screwing me up right now. But anyways, Fisher Derek Fisher. No, not Derek.
He's a Laker.
Doesn't matter. Fisher brings in Tommy Hill and
the show
says,
is collapsing
quickly. But he brings in Hill and says that this guy could be NFL cornerback.
He said he could have his name on the stadium, I think. He said.
And then proceeds to immediately they move him to wide receiver. And then finally Rhule and company come here, get him back onto the defensive side, and here he is, year 2. 6 feet 205, senior from Orlando, Florida. Backed up by Amari Sanders, 6'1", 175, freshman, another Miami, Florida guy. So we talked about Shavers, we talked about Sanders, Ja'Cory Barney, and so there's some real Miami guys, young guys that could play some meaningful snaps here this year. At Rover back, Isaac Gifford, backed up by Ramir Stewart. So again, old and young. There's Isaac Gifford, 6'1", 205 senior. Ramir Stewart, 5'11", 210 redshirt freshman.
I feel like we talked about Ramir specifically in a couple press conferences. Now, maybe I don't remember him much as a recruit. Was he a big time recruit? I mean, for him, the redshirt freshman to jump up, he's the next guy after Isaac Gifford. That's kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm. And that's at that Rover position.
Mm-hmm.
So the 5th DB there at safety. Yeah, Jeremy Brandt, Vegas chair here. Stat that needs to improve. Turnovers on both sides of the ball. 100% agree. Huskers, second string DBs brought some surprises here. Stewart, Branch, Bretts, and Wright. Lots of new faces. And that's exactly right here. So you have Hartzog at 5'9", 180, a junior, backed up by Derek Branch, 5'11", 195. That's a bit of a surprise to me there. The Deshaun Singleton, 6'3", 210, senior. Kobe Bretts is a junior already.
I know.
Wow.
I know.
6'2", 205. He's the West Side kid. Gosh, he came out of West Side at the same time that one defensive back, and I'm already forgetting him. 4-star kid, went to Oregon. Do you remember that guy?
I don't remember players that go to other teams. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for your parents if they're listening. Send them to Nebraska if you want me to remember that name. And here's a stat line, I think.
Yeah.
As I've thought about it, it would be for whoever is the place kicker. Like 15 out of 15 on field goals. Or
so
whatever the place kicker does, the conversion rate needs to be damn near 90%.
Okay, so for I think because I have a decent idea who E. Ortwin Stein is.
Oh, I do too. That's why I went special teams.
Yeah, if there's one stat line in any position or group that you believe will be key to a successful season, what line is it, and what will that number be?
I'm trying to think what a reasonable amount of field goals in a year is.
Yeah, instead of like even saying a number, maybe saying like a percentage. Like, hey, he's a
90% field goal.
90% field goal kicker, right?
Yep,
I mean, that would be
90% from
100% from extra
100%
point.
inside 30, 95 inside 40, and I would accept, I don't know, high 70s outside, like in the 50s. But like, hopefully, they don't do too many of those. But the kicker, whoever the place kicker is, a high percentage of makes will be a difference. Because listen, as much as I love, like what we've been saying, and Dylan's this baller at quarterback, though we've never really seen him play, but still, I think I'm right.
Chasing 3.
It's still the Big Ten, and these games they're gonna be slogs in a lot of cases. We're gonna have to make field goals. We cannot have wasted drives once we get inside the 40. So yeah, the field goal kicker can probably push us over to that next level, just like you said, chasing 3.
Yeah, Dion Pryor says any bets on who the starting kicker is. Well, I mean, we haven't seen Alvano. You and I haven't. When I went to that practice, the open practice a couple weeks ago, it was hole kicking, and I mean, I think he was perfect kicking the part that I saw, that from 40 to 45.
I don't know how hurt Alvano is, but I do like that there's another guy already in the mix. It's like, okay, it could be this whole guy, and I just like, again, they addressed it. We're not doing tryouts for guys that work at Starbucks to come and kick field goals. And we're not taking a linebacker and converting him to a kicker to barely make a field goal against Northwestern. It's just whoever it is. I hope I'm glad there's competition. I think there absolutely has to be. We just can't afford for that position to be bad this year. Mm-hmm. If we want to have the kind of season we're talking about, they're going to have to convert.
Well, we're kind of moving on now to the special teams here. And so Alvano or John Hall are listed as the place kickers. I don't give height and weights for that.
Matters not. Shoe size maybe, but not height and weight.
Now, Brian Buschini and Camden Cook, that's 2 scholarship level punters. So, we're not we're putting the emphasis into it that we want. I know when Boomer, has been on the show, and we would go back to the Frost era, and the year we didn't even have like a special teams coordinator.
Wink. It was on the sideline.
From a depth standpoint here, they're putting an emphasis definitely on special teams just by having that depth.
Yep.
Alvano, it would have been easy just to sit on our laurels and say, hey, we've got our kicker for the next 4 years. But whether he's healthy or not, he needs competition. Yeah. And I think Hall can do that for him. Kickoff right now, they have Hall as or I guess is another him or Brian Buschini. So the punter or Hall doing kickoff. Long snapper, Camden Witucky and Aiden Fledge.
Those are tough ones.
I appreciate that. Again, I don't give weights on those guys.
Well, I've never heard their names pronounced. So
now, kickoff return and punt return. Kickoff return, we have Ramir Johnson or Ja'Cory Barney Jr., the Florida City kid.
I don't understand the or there. Don't you usually have 2 guys back there?
Yeah, I mean, generally, I would think so. And what's your thoughts on Ramir being back there? Potential starting running back, returning.
I find it a little boring, to be real honest with you. It's not that anything against Ramir, but we've kind of seen that. I'd like to see some of the younger guys get a shot at that. I like putting young guys, especially on kickoff, not punt, but kickoff return. Let some young speedsters back there and see what they can do. That's just maybe the NCAA football in me. But if he's actually our starter, I don't see any reason for him to take kickoff shots. Mm-hmm. But I love Ja'Cory back there. I love that. Oh, he's number 17, huh?
Yeah. Okay. Punt return, we have IGC and Ja'Cory Barney as well. And so, and punt return's a lot different than kickoff return. You've got, a lot of times you're catching that ball. You've got to have enough wiggle to make one dude miss right away. Yep. If you can make one guy miss, that was kind of what Pearsonell was so good at. He could make that one dude miss, and then he could find the hole and go.
I think Ja'Cory
could not have that.
I think he could be legit, man. I really do.
Yeah. Well, I think we made it really well through the depth chart there. We had a couple other things here. We had new college football rules. Let me bring them up. Yeah, let me bring those up here. What I was looking at. All right. First one I mentioned what Boomer said earlier. So there's the 4-game redshirt rule, but this year, so you can redshirt a kid, play 4 games. You've always been able to do that. But now, like everything postseason, I guess I don't know if this is new, but it's new in the sense that the playoffs expanded.
Yeah,
He goes, you could play 4 regular season games, a conference championship, and 4 playoff games, and still redshirt. We are in the world of college football now, where you could literally play 9 games in redshirt. So how crazy that is. 2-minute warning. That was something we started seeing at Florida State against Georgia Tech, already the first upset of the season.
Yeah.
And And they won't call it the 2-minute warning. They'll call it the 2-minute timeout. I don't know if the NFL
is that trademarked.
I have no idea, but they were not calling it, or they were calling it the 2-minute warning timeout. Like, can we just call it the 2-minute warning? Why not?
Not to take it back a couple steps, but I was just thinking about Florida State fans.
Oh.
You know, the last several experiences they've had in college football have been horrible. Quarterback goes down, you get booted from the playoffs, have a terrible bowl game, and you lose your opener.
Yeah. I feel terrible.
That's bad.
No, I feel really.
And that's one of the few Florida teams I don't hate.
No, I don't hate them. I just really struggle to feel bad for them either. And then I think, but the 2-minute one, it'll be interesting to see how that gets used in games. There'll be times, hey, these 1-score games that we've been playing all these years, where games are coming down to the final minutes, having that extra time out there. It'll just be interesting. And we have a coaching staff for what it's worth that's coached in the pros. So,
and that helps them on 2 things.
That's the other one, that the helmet communication. Yeah. So, Mac, that's we're moving from the east sideline, Nebraska is, to the west sideline. That could be helpful, I think, with things like the shade a year ago when we played against Michigan and it was 30 degrees warmer on our sideline. Yeah. We're now going to be on the west side. The other thing that it always kind of gave a little bit of an advantage, I thought, to the opponent was that, we're sitting there with all our signs and everything, and that's facing the press box. Yeah. Now, this year with this helmet communication, I don't know how much of that's still going to be around. There's helmet communication for both offense and defense, green dots on the helmet. So there will be a player that, Tony White or somebody on the defense is going to be talking to, and there's going to be, I'm presuming it's Satterfield. I guess I don't know. I don't know if it's Thomas. Does anyone know anyone know if it's Satterfield or Thomas that's going to be?
Satterfield's going to be in the box.
But who's going to be talking directly to the quarterback before the play? And they can talk. They can talk to him up to I think it was 15 seconds before the play, and then the mic gets shut off.
I think they asked Tony about that, and they said they're still trying to figure that out. But he might have just been talking about the defense. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know. That's a good question. Yeah, anybody in the chat know that who's calling the plays into the quarterback?
So Jerry says it's Satterfield into. Oh, okay, Dion. Okay, so we had multiple people saying.
Good job, chat. Look at these boys.
Everyone, thank you guys. You're saving us. You guys know how to pronounce these names.
This is how we're part of the show together, y'all.
Yeah, we need you. We need you. Nebraska Rascal also says 30-day transfer window only in December. That's right. There is something with the transfer portal changing where instead of having like multiple times a year, it's coming down just in December there. So
okay.
Yeah.
Wait, so the only time you're going to be able to transfer is a 30-day window in December?
I believe that's what I was reading there.
So none of our quarterbacks can jump ship right now?
No, not right now. Nobody.
Nice.
Well, I'm trying to think, how did the LSU guy jump ship? These are tough questions.
Rascal, I need an answer on that one. we just got to tie it in.
Well, that's hasn't taken place yet. The transfer. I mean, that's I think that's taking place here. I don't know if it's at the end of the season, but point is,
not until
there's legislation they're talking about with that. So, let's see.
I like that rule, Jer.
But what do you think about the helmet rule? How do you think that changes things? Especially a young QB.
It might be a really good. There was really no reason not to have it, and I don't know if I feel that strongly about it one way or the other. It just seems stupid that it didn't happen. I always thought the placards were dumb, but mostly because I didn't understand them. Like you're holding a picture of Bob Barker, a Pokemon, some Jelly Bellies, and I don't know, a dead fish. But it just didn't. I didn't know how to read it. I always thought it was kind of dumb. They're all holding up signs and doing all this crap. You can just radio in the call. That just makes a lot more sense.
I feel the need, especially with the people that are going to be listening to the podcast and tomorrow and days after this. I have to follow up when we don't know an answer regarding that rule on the portal. It's a new rule, and Brant Vegas Jarrus says Nebraska goes to a bowl. Anthony says the window is for when you can enter the portal, not decide. Jumbo Steam says the transfer
he
portal
left in
change
spring.
isn't official yet. And the LSU tight end left in spring.
Dude,
So
look at Jared coming with the
of,
knowledge, dude.
all kinds of answers here. I mean,
He should have his own segment.
That's right. So yeah, couple new game day changes in Lincoln. I mentioned for one that the team's going to be moving from the right to from the east to the west side. I think that's pretty cool. There is going to be cashless. Don't bring cash, folks. If you're going to the game, it's all cashless purchases. Also metal detectors. So leave all your whatever's going to go off in a metal detector. Leave that at home.
Can't be strapped.
And something that was really cool tonight that the Huskers announced, the new Unity Walk. Did you see this, Mac? I don't know if you had a chance to see this.
Was it the Unity Walk or the Legacy Walk, or what was he talking about?
Well, here, let me see if I can bring it up.
Bring it up. This is interactive.
And yeah, this is a great podcast here. Just
some dead air, no big deal.
Oh yeah, here we go.
Oh.
How do I stop screen? Nope. Now present share screen. Here we go.
Well done, dude. I'm impressed.
I think so. Well, I haven't done it yet. Okay.
And we're not live.
No, here it is. So the video here, it's coming down in front of the Coliseum. They're going to drop them off at whatever that is, 14th and Vine. And then they go down in front of the Coliseum. They go through the Hall of Fame area there.
Oh.
Then they take a right and go right into the Osborne complex.
That's going to be the new Unity Walk, huh? Is that why he called it the Legacy Walk?
Well, that's
because maybe it's walking through the Hall of Fame area there. Maybe that's why. I heard Rules call it something like that. I'm excited for the Legacy Walk.
Well,
I didn't know what that meant.
I guess I always thought they called that the Legacy Walk or
is
Unity Walk or Legacy Walk, whatever. When the team would walk in on the stadium, well, obviously now they're going to be walking into the Osborne complex there. So, anyways, people will be able to line that sidewalk that goes right in front of the old Coliseum and everything, and then the Husker Hall of Fame outdoor area that's right there, and then players will walk through there, turn into the Osborne complex, and get into the locker room. It's going to be sweet.
That'll be cool.
So that's a new experience for families there, and bring your kids and get there early and
cheer them on.
Husk guys, I'm on the edge of my seat, boys.
I know, dude.
We are too. Husk Jerry, Osborne Legacy Complex walk. That's what I'm talking about. That's what we're saying.
Could be.
Man. Hey, how about this? UTEP. We do have a game. We're not probably going to go extremely in depth in the X's and O's.
I hear they're very multiple.
Well, I have a quote from Ben Scott here, and he goes, "We're going to attack. They're going to see what we're made of." I think offensively, that's probably a good place to start. Yeah. I think that for all the talk of let's open it up with Rhule, and I don't doubt Rhule when he says that we're not going to limit Rhule out there, but I think that we're going to pound him. I think with 4 senior offensive linemen that have played a lot of football and they are bruising dudes. Mazuka, how about that? Mazuka, that dude, I mean, he wants to fight, right? And Scott wants to fight. These guys want to get in some brawls. And I just think that this is a great game for them to get out there and just kind of,
hit somebody with a different jersey color.
And get a couple of tight ends on the field every once in a while too, and pound them around. But at the same token, I 100% think that there's too much talent on the outside to not get the ball out to Banks, to not get the ball out to Nair, to not get the ball out to Fedoni. You know what I mean?
Would you be cool with a bomb for the very first play? Just launch,
complete it.
Oh,
yeah. I mean,
okay.
I mean, I'll be as bored by an incompletion as anybody.
Pretty particular. But, I just want Dylan to uncork one, and see how far it can go, and just let Jalen just.
The historian in me, I think of the Devaney played South Dakota in his very first game. And the story goes that they threw the ball in the first play and it was an incompletion, but the crowd gave a standing ovation because we threw the ball. That apparently we were such a running team for so many years and we were losing all the time. The fact that we threw it, the crowd went nuts.
There's that infamous spring game where Callahan shifted like twice.
and people
And
are
people
going,
are like, ooh, collectively. That turned out well.
oh, hey, Menninger here. He does.
Hey,
What does
what's
the
up,
score
Danny?
have to be to sit the starters?
I mean, 3 tutties. I think 3 touchdowns up. You sit them.
3 to 3.
Yeah, depending on when it happens.
Yeah, I mean,
guess.
if you're like up about 3 or 4 touchdowns in the third quarter, I think you can.
Sure.
I think you start to. And here's the thing too, and we've seen this on defense a year ago. Tony. In fact, I'll even go to some of the defensive quotes here. Tony White's going to play a lot of guys, anyways. Yeah. We're going to probably play 22, 23, 24 defensive dudes in the first.
I mean, the
defensive
half. Depth chart is almost,
And offensive wise, what we just went through there, I think you're going to see probably 3 running backs playing in the first half. Yeah. You're going to see times where we have 2 and 3 tight ends on the field and some of the short downage things. I wouldn't be shocked at all to see that. We'll go 4 wides on a play.
Do you think we'll get Harburg in the first half?
I think Harburg will play. He will be on the field in some capacity in the first half for a play. And who knows? Who knows from a development standpoint too? Do you go into the game kind of like what they did with Frost and Frankie London way back in the UCF 1997? You go into a game where you go, hey Dylan, in the second quarter we're gonna take you out for 1 possession and put Harburg out there, and we want you to be on the sideline watching it. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that's too much gamesmanship and gets too cute, or if there's real coaching value in bringing a young guy out to the sideline so he can see things from a different angle.
Do you do it simply to make Colorado have to prep for it? Do you just show them some stuff like that just to make Colorado have to prep?
I think this coaching staff, if there's a gamesmanship way of doing anything, they'll figure it out. Defensively here, Nash, we're going to go out there and give the fans a show. I appreciate that.
I'd like a show.
But specifically with what UTEP does, up-tempo offense. Coach White said they play to win. They're very aggressive. They run a lot of quick plays. MJ Sherman, he's watched a lot of film of Austin Peay's offense, which is where their head coach came from, and a lot of their players came from too. And so he was watching the offense, the personnel groups as they prepared for it. And at the end of the day, he said expect a lot of tempo and screens. And I think that's something with a real fast defense, aggressive defense like us, that that's something you can be susceptible to is some of those screens, well-run screens. So, at the end of the day, I guess my best advice would be it's about discipline, and tackling is going to be key. We even saw that
tackling will be key. It's always key.
We saw it very early in the Georgia Tech Florida State game. Both teams went right down the field against each other. It looked like, oh gosh, this is going to be a 49-49 game. Now eventually they calmed down and they stopped scoring like that. But that first possession, neither team could tackle anyone. And so, the team, especially early in the season, the team that's good at special teams is crisp at special teams. The ones that's not turning the ball over, the ones that are making tackles. I mean, it's football 101 in week 1, but you don't make those mistakes and you're going to probably win. I think you tend, when I used to coach, one of the guys I coached with, he made a statement. He goes, you lose more games than you win early on. And there's truth to that. Like, you find ways to lose when you, actually, I think Mark Whipple made that statement too. Yeah. Now I got the shivers, but anyways, but
point stands though.
The point does stand. You find ways to lose more games early than anything. And we should not be losing to UTEP. And so that's where
I really would like us to be. I really want to see a violent team. I want us to look violent. I want us to look borderline too aggressive, particularly on defense, but also from the line. I want to see us, tearing some guys up. If we get a couple flags for playing after the whistle, I'm okay with it. I'm cool with those flags, not procedural flags, but just like effort flags. I'm okay with those early in the season, can kind of get them out of your system and tone it down. But UTEP should absolutely feel us. They should absolutely walk out of that game beat up and sore.
Yeah. Well, and 2 nights from now, Thursday night, Colorado hosts North Dakota State, and win, lose, it doesn't matter to me, but North Dakota State is a team that wants to, they are physical. Yeah. And talking about beating up, I want to see Colorado coming out of that game against the Bison feeling that too. Yeah. So whatever the final score is, whether they win or lose is almost a moot point to me. I want to see them take a beating in week 1. And because to your point too, Mac, we're not coaches, so we can look ahead.
I will.
We can look ahead to that next game. But this is a team, UTEP, for the first time in 5 seasons, we're playing at home. For the first time in 5 seasons, we're not playing a Power 5 team right away. Yeah. For the first time in 5 seasons, we're playing a team where we should absolutely wipe the field with these guys. And if we don't, then I mean that's a problem.
It is a problem. It would be a big disappointment for us
Be a
not to
big
look very, very physical in the very first game. Speaking of Dion, and again, just jumping our focus because we're allowed to. Did you see him? Have you heard what a little bitch he's been like with CBS and telling these reporters they can't ask him questions anymore because they've been too personal with him? Meanwhile, last year he's like, I keep receipts and talking.
Well, that was the whole the Denver Post guy or the CBS guy that's there. There's something
embarrassing. It's embarrassing that the university's coming out to back him. It's embarrassing that Dion feels like he needs that. Just blow the reporter off in the presser. You don't have to tell him I'm not taking questions to you. It's everything I hear out of Colorado sounds bad.
Yeah,
almost everything.
Yeah, I just think that they're, look, we got to take care of them. That's for a week from now, but we've got to take care of that game because that's going to be an important one when we
It's
get
an
there.
important game. I still won't eat crow if we lose to him, but I have not prepared myself mentally at all for a loss. In that spot.
Any week, be careful, Mac, or you won't be able to ask Dion questions. So, yeah, it's time.
Yeah, I still got Rob.
Careful.
Rob will be. Is he getting credentials for that game?
Yeah, be careful. There's articles written about podcasts that say things. There was another Husker podcast that they had called Dion out pretty good. So,
oh really?
Yeah. At the end of the day,
is that supposed to dissuade me from doing it? I feel like I would just put the.
Well, no. And
okay,
that's the whole thing too with in Denver, they're not putting up with it either. The media there is like, come on, man. All right. Well, anywho, let's get to, I think that the final statement here is buckle up. It's going to be a fun ride, Dylan Raiola. And it is. And this should be a fun ride. This should be a fun season. There's a lot of great storylines here. We got some great players that are coming back that chose to come back that had options to go elsewhere. Yeah, whether it was pro or not, and we should have high expectations. It's year 2 of Rhule, and we have a schedule that's favorable that
very favorable.
I think opens up for us to be able to start and get some momentum, have a little bit of success early. Yeah. So I don't know,
a lot of bit of success early, really. I mean, Colorado, I don't care where they end up ranked or not. That doesn't even really matter. It's Colorado. And it'll be a statement game regardless because of Dion. Like he is kind of doing us a favor that way. It's going to be home. It's going to be night. I got that day off. I don't have to work in the ED that night, which is going to be an absolute shit show because there's going to be fights all over town. One way or the other, win, lose, or draw, it's going to get heated downtown. And I am not going to be there to pick up pieces. So it's exciting. Boy, ladies and gentlemen,
this is cool.
It's game week.
And what's up, fellas? This is Casey Cheatham. Keep up the good work. Kenny. All right, man. Love it. Former players.
That's Kenny Cheatham?
Kenny Cheatham.
My man. Number 6.
Caught the first pass on the final drive at Missouri when we had the flea kicker there. That perfect, got his foot right. I still know how you got your foot in bounds there. That one foot in and perfect catch started off that drive.
Kenny Cheatham was like the original big wide receiver.
Yeah.
It was like all itty bitty committee. And then we got Kenny Cheatham. I was like, and the name Cheatham sounds fast. By the way, his sneaker game, I don't know if you follow him on Twitter or X, but his sneaker game's on point too.
Awesome. Thanks for watching. All right. Well, Mac, let's get over to our parting shots here. And I'll start with you.
Well, hey.
What do you got, buddy?
I'm excited. Everybody should be excited. I feel like, Trev pissed me off too when he quit, but I really think he hired the right guy before he left. And if this season we end up with 9 wins, I will completely forgive Trev. It's going to take 9 wins, Trev. If we get to 9, I forgive you. But 8 wins I'd still be happy with, but I won't forgive Trev. But I just I really feel like we're poised to really kind of get a feel for what it used to be like around here. And I'm excited for Lincoln. I'm excited for these young students. I'm excited for all the young people that had never really experienced a good Husker football season. And we don't have to win the national championship for us to have a great year.
Yeah.
Like that's the beauty of it. We got a freshman quarterback that's got everybody super excited. We got a returning defense and a coordinator that's got everybody hyped up. There's every reason to be excited. And don't let anyone put the brakes on your excitement. Who gives a shit if you're excited right now? Don't let anyone tell you.
Yeah,
don't caution. What's caution for? I'm like, it's so stupid.
Yeah,
like
the whole PTSD.
Yeah,
of,
I
like,
didn't
the last
come
few
here to
years.
halfway route.
Yeah, I mean, well, I have PTSD from previous coaching staffs. I don't have that from Rhule right
Exactly.
now. And that we were very, very, very close a year ago.
Yeah.
And the things that caused the errors that made us lose 5 games by field goal or less, 4 of them or 3 of them being walk-off field goals, the things that cause those errors are turnovers. We've got to come down on offense, and we've got to increase them on defense. And I think they've done things with the team, with the recruiting, with the development. They have done things to address the issues. Now now it's game time. It's time to see it. And to your point, it's just so much fun around here when we win.
Oh, man.
And so there's an opportunity. There's an opportunity out there to build some momentum early, and hopefully we can see that. My parting shot is I posted this a couple weeks ago on social media. A buddy of mine from the fraternity Brackenoff, Jeff.
I know Jeff.
So, he sent this to me.
Jeff or Bob did?
No, this is Jeff. And this
Okay.
is just too appropriate because this is Matt Rhule. So he sent the 6 photos of me, Rhule, me, Rhule, me, Rhule.
That's
back to back.
dude.
And I mean, I see it a little bit there.
I can't wait till I run into Matt Rhule and I ask him to get a picture with me, and then I post it. Hanging out with Honke. Me and Honke having a great time.
I want to get Rhule on here like during the off season, just have, one-on-one or something there. But no, this is cool, man. Andy, thank you. Good show, boys. Justin, thank you guys. GBR. No, thank you. Thank all of you that have been sitting there watching us all
It's
night
been
on
fun.
a
The
Tuesday
interaction
night.
has been a lot of fun tonight. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Mac, do you have anything else?
No. I mean, it's it's just game week, baby. Get your red out. Get all your your new Husker gear or Go Big Redcast gear if you feeling.
There you go. Go to the
if you're feeling big
Redcast
pimpin'.
Redcast store on top there, the QR code.
Nice.
Absolutely.
That hat is sweet though. I really like. Honke just gave me this tonight, and I dig it.
All right, guys. Everyone, go Big Red. We've got a lot of football ahead of us here. This is week 1. Great job again tonight, girls, with the volleyball. Great way to start the season off. Great way to start
Wisconsin
Husker
plays
sports
tonight. Hope they lose. Just kidding.
Yeah, I don't know.
Really, I don't know.
Probably over already, but
Okay.
anyways, keep the faith there.
Yeah,
Be positive, be crazy, and let's get the victory here this week.
That's right.
All right, until next time. That's a Matt's Rhule.
Yeah, still early season.
Yep.
A Herd at Sports Network production.